did not pray that the enemies be destroyed. The prayer of Elisha was a prayer that his servant may see. I don't know whether you're connecting. What do I need eyes for when I need the enemy gone? Why should I be able to see when all I need to get is freedom? What has the eyes got to do with the situation ahead of me? And that is the point that I want to make for us. That there is seeing by the eye and there is seeing by the heart. Whatever you see by your eye can be very misleading. Until the eyes of your heart are opened, you can never see clearly. The people who do medicine tell me that for you to be able to see, you need two things. Eyes are secondary. It is a tool that you need. It is not what you need to see. For you to be able to see, the number one thing that you need is light. It is the light that hits on your face, Sister Jane, that reflects onto my eyes. As long as this light exists, I will be able to see you. But if you took all of us in a dark room with open eyes, even 4 eyes or 6 eyes, or you give us magnifying lenses, we will still not be able to see, because there is no source of light. For us to be able to see what is ahead of us, we need light. Jesus said that the light that comes in, if you can see light, your body cannot be in darkness. Because the light that comes through your eyes is able to enlighten your entire body. And so this man of God prays a prayer. And his prayer is, Lord, open his eyes that he may see. Open the eyes of my servant that he may see. And as soon as his eyes were opened, he came to realize that those who are on his side are more and greater, powerful and better than those that are on the enemy's side. And it is my prayer that even as we come towards the end of this year, that God will open the eyes of our hearts. If the eyes of our hearts are opened, the enemies that are around us are a piece of cake. Bible says they didn't fight. They came for one man, a whole army. They're looking for Elisha. Elisha is here, and he's telling them that, come, I show you who Elisha is. The blindness that was in the servant of Elisha was transferred to this army. Now the army cannot see. They cannot differentiate who is Elisha and who is not. And Elisha takes the entire army. How can you follow somebody you do not know? The entire army. And he took them to the king. And the king was very excited. Said, what can I do with these guys? Shall I kill them? Elisha said, no. Whatever God has put in your hands freely, you don't need to destroy. You don't need to destroy what God has given you freely. He ordered the king to cook for them. he ordered the king to give them a feast. Glory be to Jesus. There is an invisible army around you. And if your eyes would be opened by God, you would be able to know exactly what is on your side. There is no place that is hidden from God. There is no time that God... You see, we live in a system of time. It's like a tunnel. You're driving in a tunnel and only what you can see is what is in the tunnel. And you think that because you are in the tunnel, there is no life above that tunnel, which is a lie. Because some of us, the enemy has squeezed us in a place where all that we see is what the enemy has presented. We fail to know that in all these things, there is a God that is above the circumstances that we are going through. There is a God who is in control of our lives. He knows when we rise up and he knows when we go to bed. And the Bible says that he will not allow something to come to me except that which he knows that I can be able to handle. He will not release it to you if he knows you can't handle it. God will always let loose what you're able to conquer. And can I tell you something? What you kill is what feeds you. I thought I was talking to Kenyans. What you kill is what feeds you. Unless you're able to go and hunt and kill, you will die hungry. You have to know who your source is. You have to know who your provision is. No, many times I talk to people and they tell me that I speak good English and I smile. Not because of what they have said, but because of the schools that I went to. Some of the schools that I attended are not schools anymore, because they were not meant to be schools anyway. But God made them schools so that I could go through. They became schools because of me. And as soon as I left, they ceased being schools. We are mostly stuck in the things of the past. And we sometimes think that if I graduated from Starehe Boys High School, or I went to University of Nairobi or Harvard, I would be a better person. That is a lie from the enemy. Actually, as a matter of fact, those who have A's in life, in schools, end up having D's in life. And give me a frustrated person today, and I will show you a guy who was an A+ in school, but a D- in life. Because life does not test Pythagoras' theorem and the volume of a cylinder. The things of this life are bigger than the formulas of Abbott physics. They are greater. The challenges that you go through does not require the formula of Coca-Cola. You need to be in alignment with God. For you to prosper in this life, you need to be in alignment with God. And so I cannot sit and regret that because I do not have a degree, I will not be able to do what I can do. I don't care about a degree. I don't care about a diploma. All that I care, the Bible says, as soon as Elisha prayed to God, his eyes of the servant were opened. Do you need books or do you need heaven? What do you need to open? You need books to open or you need heaven to open? If I could get heaven to open, I don't care about A and P. And don't judge me on the level of my education. It doesn't matter that much. And if you think it is not true, wait until you are done. Wait until you're done. You think all problems will be gone because you graduated? I did. They are not gone. I'm still on my knees because unless heaven opens, I cannot win. That is why when they call for prayers, you should be there. I went back home a year ago. And the school that I went, elementary or primary as we call it, is still the same way I left it. 20 years plus, the thing has never changed. You know, back then you used to have head teachers and headmasters who could stay in a school for like 15 years. Until, instead of them teaching, they start rearing chicken and cattle and goats and opening shops. Now they become the head farmers instead of the head teachers. And never thought of changing the face of the school. Guess what? There are still kids in those schools. And those kids could be my kids. If I were there, they would still go to those schools. A school that has not been upgraded in 20 plus years. But here I am today. Not because I did anything. God just graced me. He picked me up among the many. And he said, your children will not go through the same stuff that you went through. I am putting you in a system that is higher and better. Do you know what? Even if I don't have a job in America, today, for me, I am very excited because I don't have to worry about how Presley and Margaret are going to go to school. That part is taken care of by heaven above. I'm not paying a dime. Some of us, we come and now we start complaining that my son doesn't understand Kikuyu. Now that becomes a problem to you. Mom, that Joshua can't speak Kikuyu. That is now the issue. Because Kamau on the other side, his kids are speaking Kikuyu. Now you feel like you're left out. Let me tell you, the opposite is worse. He'd rather not speak Kikuyu because he won't need Kikuyu to get a job. He won't need Kikuyu to get employment. But not knowing how to speak and write English is a pain. And while you were there 25 years ago, you made a prayer. Because every time the tourists showed up, you were after them looking for connections. You wanted connections to come. If only I could get an address. If you hear they are in this church, you are in that church on Sunday. If you hear they are moving on to the other one, you are on that church on Sunday. And you are mad with the pastor because he's not allowing you to touch the whites or the blues or the yellows because you really want to come on this side. Now you are here. Your problem is he doesn't speak Kikuyu. If it is a problem, I would say that's a good problem to have. That is a good problem to have. If my trouble would be only that Margaret can't speak Ijaluo, that is a good problem to have. But look at the opposite of it. That now you and I are in that school which has not seen an upgrade for 20 plus years. And here, they upgrade them every year. I mean, if you look at what God has stationed for you, if only your eyes would open and see. If only your eyes would open and see. Paul said to the Ephesians as I finish, he says that I pray. The only thing that opens eyes of men is prayer. Your eyes will not be opened until you learn to pray. I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know. So when light comes, knowledge is after it. That as soon as you see light, you begin to know. As soon as light shines in your heart, you begin to know. It is that kind of enlightenment that I pray that we will have, that God will bring to our hearts the knowledge of the things that are around us. Look what the servant of Elisha was struggling with. He was struggling to see what was always around him. It was always there. That covering was always there. But he couldn't see it because the eyes of his heart were not enlightened. When the eyes of our hearts are enlightened, we begin to know. We begin to know. What are we supposed to know? We are supposed to know that there is a hope that we have been called for. God doesn't call us to hopelessness. The world gives us hopelessness, but God calls us to hope. What else does he call us to? He calls us to the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints. That when you accept Jesus Christ, there is an inheritance that is deposited in your life. You become a heir together with Jesus Christ. And it doesn't matter what the world produces. As long as you are connected with God, you become a heritage for blessing. Your life begins to shine. And people begin to see there is a difference between you and everybody else who does not believe. What else does he say? He is incomparably great power for us who believe. We don't walk powerless. God has given us power. There is a power of a believer. There is a power of a believer. There is a power of a believer. When you begin to believe, you begin to get power. The power that Jesus is giving us is a power of faith. It doesn't matter how deep the enemy has put you down. Can I speak to you for a second? They took Joseph, and for 13 years, he was put in prison. Didn't go to anybody's graduate school. Prison. God trained him inside the prison. He learned things that nobody else could teach in prison. And Joseph never cried to be removed out of prison. But when he became good at interpreting dreams, God set up a table for him. And the only person who could interpret dreams that time was this man who was in chains. And when he came out, he did not come out a prisoner anymore. What God had always kept for him became the key that opened the door for him. If he did not know, he could not have performed it. And that is why we need God to open our eyes that we may know. Sometimes what you're trusting God for is around here. Just around here. It's just around here. But you can't see. It doesn't matter how long it's going to be there. You will not be able to see until you begin to pray. Until you begin to pray, you will not be able to see. Some of you, the things that God has for you, no eye has ever seen. No ear has ever heard. But you have refused to take the first step. And so while you're praying amiss. Because you're refusing to take the first step. Pray that your eyes may be open. The devil would try to make it look like God is the bad guy. Shouldn't matter whether you're on top of a cliff or in a valley. If God allowed you to take one step, he will allow you to take another one. And if he can allow you to take two, he will allow you to take three. Do not be fearful. Do not be afraid. His incomparably great power for us who believe. That power is like the working of his mighty strength. The Bible says it's the same power that resurrected Jesus from the dead. The same power that brought Jesus from the tomb is the same power that you and I have been given. And I pray that that power will resurrect you. That power will bring you back to life. That power will change your situation. That power will change your family. That power will change your destiny. Because it is a power that works. It is power that works. God is calling us to an enlightenment of the heart. Brother Steve, give me the next verse. Which he exerted in Christ when he raised him from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms. 21. Far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every title that can be given, not only in the present age, but also in the one to come. And you need to take a second and pause about what the Lord is calling us to. Power above every dominion, every principality, every authority. That when that power comes upon you, then you are seated above. And that is what Elisha discovered. He discovered the power that has been bestowed on him. If it were me, I would have ran away. How can a whole nation come for one person? We can't even wait for the traffic cop. When he shows up with that light, you're like, now my license is gone. Now I have so many infractions, and now I don't even know whether they'll take me back to school to be trained as a driver again. One cop with blue and red lights will make you shake. This man, an entire army of a whole nation, is coming for him, and he is not afraid. He is not afraid because he knows there is some power in him. And look at what he did. Look at what he did to the enemy. He fed them handsomely and dismissed them fairly. Treated them well, like they never came for him. And that is the prayer that I have for my life and for your life. That you will feed your enemies. You will treat them handsomely and dismiss them fairly. You will be able, don't remind them of what they did the first day that you came to this country. Don't remind them of what they did to your child the day you left them to take care of him or her. Treat them handsomely. Prepare some meal. Let them eat. Let them drink and bless them as they go. Let them ask, what is in this woman? What is in this woman? Not because you don't remember what they did, but because God has elevated you. The smart one is the one who does good when he has been wronged. The free one is the one who forgives when he's supposed to be bitter. The one who says, I am willing to be on the wrong side. You take the right position, let me take the wrong one. And while I take the wrong position, there is a place that I go. God has given me something that I can use to change the wrong that I have committed into something right. And I will tell you what that is. It is the power of my knee and the power of my lips. As long as I can pray, as long as I can kneel down and call on heaven, it doesn't matter the label you put on me. It doesn't matter the name you call me. It doesn't matter my status, because I know God can change that status. You may be laughing at me today, but tomorrow you haven't seen yet until you see what is next. The servant of Elisha saw a big army until he saw what was next. What is next is going to surprise you. You haven't seen anything yet until you see what is next. And when you see it, you will be surprised. Is this what God has been planning for me all this time? Is this what God has been planning for me all this time? This God that we serve, the good thing about him is that we never go to him physically. Heaven is not a physical destination, and that is a good thing. We don't apply for green cards in heaven, and that is a good thing. That's a good thing. Some of you would not enter. If we were to go there and make application that we may get the status to be in this nation, probably you won't be here. But thank God, it is not a physical destination. Some of you won't be working where you're working. If it was a physical application that you go and submit, you wouldn't be there. Thank God, heaven is not a physical place. And because it is not, there is a formula of getting to it. It is that formula that you need. God has no limits, and God has no restriction. And whatever you think is pulling you down will become the same support system that will keep you up. It will become the elevated ground on which you stand. Keep calling. Keep calling. Keep praying that your eyes may be open. Twinkling of an eye, and everything else around you begins to change. Don't be angry at God, and don't be angry at them. When your eyes are open, the glory of God begins to manifest. The favor of God begins to manifest. Shall we rise up? Pastor, come and conclude for us.
Thank you. Let us bow our heads that we may pray.
When Elisha